There comes a point in life when you realize the real battle isn't out there, it's in here. The greatest wars aren't fought with armies, weapons, or governments, they're fought inside your mind. Every day you wake up and before your feet even hit the floor, the battle begins. Doubts whisper, fears creep in, old memories try to chain you down. The world tells you you're not enough, that you're too late, that success belongs to someone else. And here's the truth. Most people lose this battle before it even starts. They never learn the one skill, the one mastery that determines everything else. And because of that, life keeps breaking them. But if you can master this, just this one thing, nothing, and I mean nothing, will ever break you again. The funny thing is, it's not what most people think. It's not about money, status, or power. It's not about controlling others. It's not even about being fearless. What separates the unstoppable from the fragile is their ability to master themselves. Self-mastery, that's the foundation. Because if you can't control your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, and your reactions, then the world will do it for you. Every advertisement, every criticism, every failure, every temptation will own you. But if you can master yourself, the world has nothing left to use against you. Think about it. Life will test you, guaranteed. You'll lose people you love. You'll fail at things you thought you were destined to win. You'll face rejection, betrayal, and setbacks so painful you'll wonder if you can even keep going. And this is where most people crumble. They let heartbreak destroy them. They let failure define them. They let fear paralyze them. But there are others, the rare few, who go through the same storms and come out stronger. Why? Because they've mastered the one thing that can't be broken, their inner world. Let's put it in perspective. Imagine two people facing the exact same disaster. Say they both lose their job. One person spirals, they panic, complain, blame, and lose themselves in despair. The other person takes a deep breath, regroups, and turns it into an opportunity to pivot, to grow, to rise. Same storm, different outcome. What made the difference? It wasn't luck. It wasn't circumstance. It was mastery of the self. And that's what this is about. Building a mind so unshakable, so disciplined, so aligned, that no matter what life throws at you, you bend, but you never break. But let's be honest, self-mastery isn't glamorous. It's not as flashy as chasing quick money, getting attention, or showing off on social media. It's quiet work. It's the discipline to keep going when nobody's watching. It's the patience to build habits brick by brick, day after day. It's the courage to face yourself, your flaws, your weaknesses without running away. And that's why most people never achieve it. They want shortcuts, hacks, and instant results. But shortcuts create fragile success, and fragile success crumbles the moment life applies pressure. Real mastery, on the other hand, is slow, consistent, and built on the inside. That's why it lasts. Here's the contrast you need to see clearly. Ordinary people live reactively. Something happens, they react. Someone insults them, they react. Plans fall apart, they react. Their emotions, their actions, their entire state of being is dictated by what happens around them. But masters live proactively. They don't let life dictate their state, they choose it. They don't let circumstances decide who they decide who they are regardless of circumstance. That is power. That is freedom. That is why, if you can master this, nothing can break you. Now maybe you're thinking, okay, but how do I get there? How do I actually master myself? And that's where the work begins. It starts with awareness, the ability to step back and notice what's going on in your mind instead of being dragged around by it. Most people are slaves to their thoughts, believing every story their mind tells them. They think a negative thought and suddenly believe their whole life is falling apart. They feel fear and suddenly decide they can't act. But when you develop awareness, you see those thoughts for what they are. Just noise, just passing clouds. Not commands, not truth, not chains, just noise. And the moment you realize that, you gain leverage. You gain the ability to choose. Once you have awareness, the next step is discipline, because awareness without action is useless. Discipline is what takes awareness and turns it into strength. It's what makes you show up when you don't feel like it. It's what keeps you moving when it would be easier to quit. Discipline is the muscle of mastery. And here's the thing, discipline doesn't just happen, it's built. And it's built the hard way, through repetition, through consistency, through pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone day after day. That's why so few people have it, because it demands sacrifice. But here's the paradox. The more discipline you have, the freer you become. Think of it this way. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want whenever you want. But that kind of freedom usually leads to slavery to laziness, to addiction, to weakness. True freedom is being able to command yourself, to decide what's best and then actually do it, even when it's hard. That's the kind of freedom that can't be taken from you. That's the kind of mastery that makes you unbreakable. And finally, there's resilience, the ability to take hits and keep moving forward. Resilience is what ties it all together, because no matter how aware or disciplined you are, life will still punch you in the face. You will still experience loss, failure, and pain, but resilience means you don't stop there. You don't let the pain become your identity. You learn, you adapt, and you rise. That's why mastery is not about avoiding struggle. It's about facing it head-on and refusing to let it break you. So let's make it clear. If you want a life where nothing can break you, this is the path. Awareness, discipline, resilience, self-mastery, everything else comes and goes. Money can be lost, relationships can end, opportunities can vanish. But once you master yourself, that's yours forever. Nobody can take it. No storm can uproot it. No failure can erase it. That's why this is the ultimate skill, the ultimate strength. If you can master this, nothing, not fear, not failure, not even life itself, can break you. Here's a question most people never stop to ask. Why do we even need self-mastery? Why not just live day by day, let life unfold and handle things as they come? The answer is simple, because life doesn't wait for you to be ready. Life doesn't pause until you get stronger. Life happens, and it happens fast. The storms arrive without warning. The betrayals cut deeper than you expected. The failures sting longer than you imagined. And if you haven't built mastery over yourself, those moments will shatter you. Think back to a time you thought you couldn't handle something, a heartbreak, a rejection, a financial setback. At the time, it felt like the end of the world, didn't it? But here you are, still standing, and that right there is proof of your potential strength. The pain didn't destroy you, it revealed you. But here's the catch. While some people rise stronger after setbacks, most stay stuck. They replay the event in their mind over and over, drowning in the past. They let it define them, like a scar they keep reopening. Why? Because they haven't learned how to master their inner narrative. They haven't taken control of the story they tell themselves. This is the second layer of mastery, controlling the meaning you give to events. Because here's the truth, events themselves don't break people. It's the meaning they attach to those events. Two people can go through the exact same storm and come out completely different. One says, "This ruined me." The other says, "This forged me." Same event, opposite meanings, opposite lives. That's the power of interpretation. And when you master your ability to assign empowering meanings, you stop being a victim of life and start becoming its author. Let's look at a practical example. Imagine you launch a business and it fails. Most people will interpret this as proof that they're not cut out for success. They'll take it as a personal reflection of their worth. But someone with mastery sees the same event as feedback, not failure. They analyze what went wrong, they learn, and they grow. To them, it's not the end, it's a stepping stone. Same event, different meaning, different outcome. That's mastery in action. But meaning isn't just about failure, it's also about suffering. Pain is unavoidable. You'll experience loss, disappointment, even heartbreak, but suffering, that's optional. Suffering is pain multiplied by resistance. It's the story you tell yourself about the pain. If you say, "This shouldn't be happening to me," or "I'll never recover," you're choosing suffering. But if you say, "This pain will teach me," or "This is shaping my strength," you transform suffering into growth. And that's what makes you unbreakable. Here, where contrast framing becomes important. Most people live as if the world owes them comfort, ease, and fairness. And when life inevitably delivers struggle, they're shocked, angry, and resentful. But if you flip the frame, if you expect life to test you, if you see obstacles as part of the path instead of interruptions, you stop being blindsided. You walk into challenges prepared. You face them with courage, not resentment. And that shift alone can completely change the way you live. Think about the people you admire, the ones who seem untouchable, unstoppable, almost superhuman. They're not that way because life spared them pain. They're that way because they mastered how they responded to it. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison and came out not broken, but unshakable. Viktor Frankl endured concentration camps and discovered the power of meaning in suffering. These aren't just extraordinary individuals. They're proof that mastery of the mind is stronger than any external force. Now you might be wondering, how do you actually practice this mastery in daily life? How do you train it so that when life hits, you're ready? It starts with small acts. Mastery is not built in giant leaps, it's built in moments. When you wake up and choose not to hit the snooze button, that's mastery. When you feel the urge to lash out in anger but choose patience instead, that's mastery. When you feel fear but still take the step forward, that's mastery. Every small choice builds the muscle. And over time, those muscles form the armor that nothing can pierce. Another layer is emotional control. Emotions are powerful, they can drive you or destroy you. Anger, fear, sadness, these emotions aren't enemies, they're signals. But most people let emotions dictate their entire behavior. They feel fear, so they don't act. They feel anger, so they hurt people they love. They feel sadness, so they give up on life. But mastery means you acknowledge the emotion without becoming it. You use it as information, not as identity. You feel fear and say, "This means I'm growing." You feel anger and say, "This shows me what matters to me." You feel sadness and say, "This means I love deeply." Instead of being controlled by emotions, you learn to guide them. Here's another contrast worth noticing. Weakness is reacting instantly to everything you feel. Strength is creating space between the stimulus and the response. That small space is where mastery lies. In that space, you decide, not your fear, not your anger, not your impulses. You decide who you'll be. And the more you practice that space, the more powerful you become. And let's not forget the role of habits. Habits are the invisible architecture of mastery. You don't rise to the level of your intentions, you fall to the level of your systems. If your daily habits are weak, no amount of motivation will save you. But if your habits are strong, you can withstand storms even when motivation disappears. That's why mastery is not just about mindset, it's about lifestyle. The foods you eat, the way you sleep, the people you surround yourself with, the routines you practice. These are all bricks in the fortress of self-mastery. Most people underestimate this. They think big change requires big actions. But it's usually the small, consistent habits that make you unshakable. Reading a few pages daily, journaling your thoughts, training your body, meditating, practicing gratitude. These simple acts compound into strength. They might not look like much on the surface, but when the storm comes, they're the reason you stand tall while others collapse. Now let's tie it all together with a deeper truth. Mastery is not about avoiding pain, controlling everything, or becoming some robotic version of yourself. It's about living fully but on your terms. It's about meeting life with courage, no matter what it brings. It's about having a center so strong that chaos can whirl around you and you remain unshaken. That's not just strength, that's freedom. And here's the final point for this section. Self-mastery isn't something you achieve once and keep forever. It's a lifelong practice. Just like muscles weaken if you stop training them, mastery fades if you stop practicing it. That's why it's called mastery, not a one-time achievement but a continuous way of living. And the longer you practice, the stronger you become until eventually, nothing outside of you has the power to break what's inside of you. There's a moment in every person's life when they finally realize that the world will not bend to their will. You can't control the weather. You can't control what other people say, do, or think. You can't control whether tomorrow brings opportunity or disaster. And yet, most people spend their lives trying to control the uncontrollable, wasting energy on things that were never theirs to command. The result? Frustration, bitterness, and weakness. But the few who rise above this trap understand a profound truth. If you can't control the outside world, then the only path to strength is mastering the inside one. That is where your real power lies. Let's break this down with a contrast. Picture someone who constantly blames the world for their struggles. They blame their boss, the economy, their parents, or bad luck. Their life is an endless story of if only. If only things were different, then they'd be happy, then they'd be successful, then they'd finally feel alive. But what happens when you place your power outside yourself? You've already lost. You've made your strength dependent on something you can't control. That's a fragile way to live. Now compare that to someone who says, no matter what happens, I will decide how I respond. I will decide who I become through this. That person may not control the storm, but they control the sail, and that's what makes them unbreakable. Now, one of the hardest truths to accept about mastery is that it requires sacrifice. People want to be strong without giving up weakness. They want to be disciplined without letting go of comfort. They want resilience without facing pain. But mastery doesn't work like that. Every gain requires a trade. You cannot hold on to your excuses and hold on to strength at the same time. You cannot cling to your old habits and expect new results. You cannot keep avoiding discomfort and expect to grow unshakable. The cost of mastery is comfort, but the reward is freedom. Think about athletes at the highest level. Do they achieve mastery by doing what's easy? No. They master their body by putting it through pain, by training when it hurts, by sacrificing pleasure in the short term for greatness in the long term. The same principle applies to the mind. You grow mentally unbreakable by choosing the hard path when others choose the easy one, by facing your fears instead of avoiding them, by saying no when every part of you craves a yes. That's the forge of mastery. And here's something most people get wrong. Mastery doesn't mean you never feel weakness. It doesn't mean you never feel fear, doubt, or sadness. It means you feel all of it and keep going anyway. Weakness will knock on your door every day. Mastery is not about pretending it isn't there. It's about refusing to let it decide your life. The person who waits until they feel strong will never act. The person who acts even when they feel weak, that's the one who becomes unstoppable. This brings us to another critical layer: identity. Mastery is not just about what you do, it's about who you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as fragile, as a victim, as someone who can't handle it, you will live that story. But if you see yourself as resilient, as someone who adapts, as someone who doesn't break, you will rise to that identity. You become what you consistently tell yourself you are. And that's why one of the most powerful practices of mastery is rewriting your identity. Stop saying, I'm bad with discipline, or I always fail. Start saying, I'm learning discipline, or I rise after failure. These small shifts change the way you see yourself, and eventually the way you live. Here's a powerful question to ask yourself. Who are you when everything falls apart? That's where mastery shows itself. It's easy to feel strong when life is good. It's easy to act disciplined when everything goes according to plan. But who are you when nothing works? When you're broke, heartbroken, or exhausted? That's when your true self is revealed. Masters use these moments as opportunities. They don't ask, why me? They ask, who will I become because of this? That single shift in perspective can transform breakdowns into breakthroughs. Let's dig deeper into the habits of those who have mastered themselves. One key trait is simplicity. Masters don't clutter their lives with distractions. They cut away what doesn't serve them, because every distraction is a chain, and chains weigh you down when storms arrive. Look around your life. How many things are you holding onto that weaken you instead of strengthening you? How many toxic habits, toxic relationships, toxic beliefs are you carrying? You cannot be unbreakable while dragging around the weight of everything that drains you. Mastery requires pruning. It requires letting go of what weakens you so you can stand firm in what strengthens you. Another trait is presence. Masters live in the moment, not in the regrets of the past or the fears of the future. Most people break because they're haunted by what's already gone or terrified of what hasn't happened yet. But mastery lives in the now. This breath, this choice, this step. When you anchor yourself in the present, the weight of yesterday and the anxiety of tomorrow lose their power. And suddenly, you realize you can handle this moment. And when you can handle this moment, you can handle any moment. Now let's talk about patience. In a world addicted to instant gratification, patience is a superpower. Everyone wants results now, today, immediately. But mastery knows that real strength takes time. That healing takes time. That growth takes time. If you can cultivate patience, you won't break when results take longer than expected. You won't give up when the path stretches farther than you imagined. Patience makes you steady while others quit. And steady beats fast every single time. Finally, let's face one of the hardest truths. Mastery is lonely. Not everyone will understand why you choose discipline over comfort, why you sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term strength, why you walk a path that others call too hard. People may laugh, criticize, or even try to pull you back into mediocrity. But here's the paradox. Though the path of mastery is lonely, it's also the only path to true connection. Because once you've mastered yourself, you can connect with others without neediness, without fear, without the chains of insecurity. You can love fully, give fully, and lead fully because you're no longer broken inside. So if you're willing to pay the price, if you're willing to face discomfort, rewrite your identity, simplify your life, live in the present, cultivate patience, and embrace the loneliness, you will unlock the kind of strength that nothing can break. And in a world full of fragile people living fragile lives, that will make you unstoppable. Imagine this. A storm is raging outside, winds are howling, trees are bending, the world looks chaotic, and yet inside a strong, well-built house, you sit in calmness. You can hear the chaos, but it does not touch you. This is what mastering inner strength feels like. Life will never stop testing you. It will keep throwing storms, failures, betrayals, losses, rejections, and heartbreaks your way. But the question that separates the fragile from the unstoppable is not, will life be easy? But rather, will I be unshakable when life is not? That's the essence of what we've been exploring, that if you can master this one thing, nothing can break you. And by now, you know that this is not external. It is not money, status, validation, or even luck. It is the unshakable control of your inner world. Because once you command yourself, the outside world loses its power over you. The harsh truth is that most people live life backward. They spend all their energy chasing security outside themselves. More money, more recognition, more comfort, more control over circumstances. And for a while, this illusion holds. You can stack enough cushions around you to feel temporarily safe. But sooner or later, something unexpected happens. A betrayal, a market crash, a sudden illness, a loss you didn't see coming. And because all your stability was tied to external conditions, the moment those conditions crumble, you collapse with them. That's why life feels unbearable for so many. Not because the storms are too strong, but because the foundation inside is too weak. But when you master inner strength, when you make peace with discomfort, when you stop needing life to be easy, and instead learn to be stronger than whatever comes, that's when you become unbreakable. The storms don't stop, but you stop fearing them. Think about history's greatest leaders, inventors, and visionaries. They didn't have smoother lives than you. In fact, many had harder lives. They were mocked, rejected, silenced, imprisoned, laughed at, betrayed by those they trusted, abandoned by those they loved. And yet they kept going. Why? Because they weren't relying on life to be fair. They had built a mindset that could withstand unfairness. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison and emerged without hatred. Viktor Frankl survived concentration camps and still found meaning in life. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing something that changed the world. They all faced storms bigger than ours, but they didn't break. They bent, they endured, they adapted, and in doing so, they left legacies that still inspire us today. Their stories remind us that resilience is not a trait you're born with. It is a discipline you build, moment by moment, test by test, storm by storm. Now let's bring this down to your life. Right now you are facing challenges, some visible, some invisible. Maybe it's financial pressure, maybe it's loneliness, maybe it's the weight of responsibility, maybe it's the feeling that no one understands your struggles, or maybe it's the quiet war in your head that no one else sees. And when you're in that place, it's easy to believe you're weak. It's easy to tell yourself, I can't handle this. I'm not strong enough. Life is too much. But stop and reflect for a second. How many storms have you already survived? How many times did you think it was the end, only to find yourself still standing months or years later? You are tougher than your mind gives you credit for. You have a record of survival. And if you're still here, still breathing, still moving forward, that means you have proof of unbreakable strength inside you. Your job now is not to create it from scratch, but to recognize it, train it, and expand it. The way you master this resilience is not through grand gestures, but through small, daily choices. Every time you wake up and push yourself when you don't feel like it, you're training mental toughness. Every time you say no to instant gratification and yes to discipline, you're reinforcing strength. Every time you stay calm when someone tries to provoke you, you're building control. Every time you fall, get back up and try again, you're proving you can't be broken. These small moments may seem insignificant, but they are like drops of water carving stone. Over time, they shape a person who does not panic under pressure, who does not collapse under stress, who does not quit when life gets hard. And here's the paradox: the more you embrace discomfort now, the less suffering you feel later. Because the storms don't get easier, but you do. Your threshold grows, your capacity expands. And suddenly, what used to break you doesn't even faze you. Let's get brutally honest here. If you wait for life to be perfect before you feel strong, you'll wait forever. If you wait for people to treat you fairly before you grow, you'll never grow. If you wait for the path to be smooth before you walk it, you'll never move. Strength is not built in comfort. It is forged in adversity. Every setback is a training ground. Every rejection is a classroom. Every failure is a stepping stone. And every heartbreak is a chance to discover that you are bigger than your pain. Most people run from these moments, and in doing so, they stay fragile forever. But if you run toward them, if you face them, if you tell yourself, "This is the moment I'm being tested, this is where I grow," then nothing can break you. Not because life stops throwing punches, but because you've learned how to take them and keep moving. And here's something most people don't realize: resilience is contagious. When you master inner strength, you don't just change yourself, you change everyone around you. Your children see you handle problems with grace and they learn. Your friends watch you stay calm in crisis and they feel safe. Your colleagues observe your discipline and they get inspired. Your resilience becomes a light in the darkness, a reminder to others that it's possible to stand strong even when everything else is falling apart. That's why becoming unbreakable isn't selfish. It's an act of service, because your strength becomes a shelter, not just for you, but for everyone who looks up to you. So here's the final truth: life will keep testing you. That won't change. But you can change how you meet those tests. You can either collapse under the weight of challenges, or you can train yourself to rise above them. You can either let life break you, or you can decide that nothing will. And that decision, repeated day after day, is what will make you unstoppable. Because if you can master this, the art of resilience, the power of self-control, the courage to embrace discomfort, the discipline to keep going when others quit, then nothing in this world can break you. Not failure, not rejection, not heartbreak, not even the storms you can't see coming. You will stand, you will endure, and in the end you will not only survive, but you will thrive. That is the gift of mastering yourself. That is the shield that makes you unshakable. That is the lesson that will change your life forever. And now, as we close this journey together, ask yourself this: will you keep living fragile, waiting for life to be easy, or will you choose to build the strength that makes you unstoppable? The storms are coming. Whether you're ready or not, the question is, will you stand tall in the middle of them? Because if you can master this, nothing, absolutely nothing, can break you.